And for more, let's bring in Chael Sonnen and Gil Melendez here to break this down, because they've actually been in the octagon. They know what that's like, and they also know what it's like the day before for weigh-ins. You just heard them talking about the weight loss that led to dehydration. What happened?
Yeah, this is a really shocking. I don't want to kick anybody while they're down, but to speak on what happened here, look, this was a lack of discipline. We know Khabib can make the weight because he's done it 23 other times. He knew about this fight. This was not a short notice situation. So what went wrong in the weight cut? I don't know. Doug, I will tell you this, and I think this is a credit to Khabib. He pushed it to the very end. He pushed his limit so much that he ended up in the hospital. The commission, in conjunction with the UFC, actually pulled this fight. He did not call up and say, I'm out. But at the same time, he didn't start quick enough.
You know, I feel for Khabib. It sucks that happened to him, but this is his job as a fighter. You train for 8 weeks in a training camp, but you also prepare 8 weeks to diet, so on fight week, you have a smooth weight cut. So it's his responsibility. I feel bad that he's sick, but I do not sympathize. His job is to show up, make weight, and fight. Simple. 3 things. Show up, make weight, and fight, and he couldn't do that. And he's missed weight before. So if he did everything he had to do to make weight, he needs to consider either moving up a weight or he was undisciplined. All
right, that's the perspective from actual fighters who've had to do it. All right, let's go to a fight that will actually happen inside the octagon. Second fight between Stephen Thompson and Tyron Woodley. Woodley, I should say, title bet on the line. The first meeting was a majority draw. So what adjustments do you expect from Thompson here?
All right, listen, if I'm Thompson, let me use Gilbert real fast. If I'm Thompson, here's what he did so well, Doug. He kept the distance. He was able to keep Tyron at bay. He kept throwing kicks. He'd fake a kick. He'd throw it straight down the middle. Eventually, he wore down a little bit, though. He didn't quite have all of these same distractions. He wasn't using the same amount of volume, and Tyron was able to get to him. But if I am the Wonder Boy in this fight, I keep those kicks going. I keep the All-American wrestler at bay, and I don't have to worry about the takedown.
And it went the full 5 rounds. That's 25 minutes, so it's easy to tire. What about adjustments from Woodley?
Well, Tyron, I think both of these guys respected each other a lot, and they were both a little bit conservative. But also, Wonderboy Thompson does have that karate stance, which makes it so hard. It was almost a mystery at first for Tyron Woodley, but in the 4th round, he was able to close the distance. So he needs to be aggressive here. He needs to close the distance, but he can't walk into those kicks that Chael was talking about. So he has to feint, make him kick, step back, find a way to close the distance, throw that big right hand, or do the same thing, feint, look for him to draw in, as well as get a single leg takedown, take him to the mat. He had success with the right hand and some great ground and pound. He exposed Wonderboy on his back. Very tough riddle to solve, but he solved a little bit in the 4th. Let's see if he can do it tomorrow.
See, I agree with what he just said. I think the hardest thing about fighting Wonderboy is that awkwardness, that uniqueness. You can't bring anybody in, even in the practice room, to spar that's like him. And once Tyron got 15 and 16 minutes in, he did start to solve that puzzle a little bit better.
Glad you didn't demonstrate on me. You went straight to Gil. All right, picks. What do you got?
I think it's and still. I think that Tyron Woodley really did. I think those previous 5 rounds are going to benefit him more than they do the Wonder Boy retains his title.
I think Tyron does retain his title in this as well, and I think he needs to just be aggressive and take a little bit more risk and find that target earlier in the fight, and he'll be successful.
And because it is a title fight, it can go the full 5 rounds, 5 minutes apiece. Chael Sonnen and Gil Melendez here on SportsCenter.
Not bad. Not bad.
When they're not looking, the sneak attack.
Tomorrow's card, UFC 209. Do you think GSP will be there?
Yeah, I imagine George will be there. Yeah, right in the front row.
Okay.
Looking great. He'll have a suit and a new haircut.
And your 3 picks.
Hey, where's that fight at? Are they fighting? They're fighting in Vegas.
They're fighting in Vegas.
T-Mobile?
Yep.
T-Mobile Arena. My 3 picks. Okay, well, let's see here. The Wonder Boy fight is really hard because Wonder Boy is really hard. That's a weird style, and I can go back to my time when Machida was making his run through it. The biggest problem with Machida, and I had 2 teammates fight him, in Dan Henderson and Randy Couture, and the biggest problem with Machida is you get one crack at him. You can't practice for that. There was nobody that we could find to bring into the gym to spar, with Randy or spar with Dan when they were getting ready, that could do Machida. He had such a unique and bizarre style that you get one crack to get out there, see some of those movements, test the timing, defend them, and get your own offense off. And as the fights go on, the guys that were able to make it some rounds with Machida, they did start doing better and better. They did start to figure him out. I think we saw that with Tyron. Tyron had a very hard open with Thompson, as everybody has, but he did start to do a little bit better as the fight progressed. I think that's a major thing in Tyron's advantage. Now that mask is off. Now that unpredictability and uniqueness is off. And it will help him. The bottom line is he's still in there with a killer. So I think that, I think Tyron won that first fight. I understand that it was ruled a draw. Tyron brings up the point, well, I knocked him down 4 times. He brings that up in every interview he does, but he's right. That's fair. He did knock him down 4 times, and he did it later in the round. I think that was the 4th round. So we did start to feel him and start to find his timing and range. I think that's going to help Tyron a lot. Who wins that fight? I don't know if I'm ready to make a prediction. If you're going to hold my feet to it, I'm going to go with Tyron. But I'm not overly confident. That is a really tough guy in Wonder Boy with a really unique style. Now, I do like Overeem over Hunt. I don't love that Hunt is in a lawsuit with the UFC. I don't love where his head's at. I don't love all the complaining that he's done. I don't know that helps him or hurts him. I think that's a really hard match. I think Hunt is going to be able to stay focused longer than Overeem. Overeem loses his focus a little bit. He comes out on a sprint. But overall, Overeem's just got more tools, in my opinion. I also like the Rashad fight versus Kelly. That's not getting any kind of attention. There's another fight on the card. What one am I missing?
Khabib versus Ferguson.
Oh, gosh, of course. Interesting fight. I've been on the Ferguson bandwagon before anybody else was because I was in the room with him at the Rain Training Center. I got to see him on a daily basis. And I saw how good he was. I watched him wear out some big names, some UFC stars. He wore them out. They could not keep up. They had to go sit down and could not finish workouts. And Ferguson standing in the middle waiting for somebody else to come in. Khabib is a whole nother deal because he's a one-dimensional guy, but he does that dimension better than anybody. And if Khabib can get on top, he can cause some problems. But Ferguson does have some very unique jiu-jitsu with that 10th planet system. Can he keep up with the pace, and can he push through the damage? Ferguson's going to take some major damage on bottom. Can he sustain it? Nobody else has been able to. Nobody else has even been close. And I think you have to look at that. Khabib has one big problem when he fights, and it's with his left hand. He puts his left hand in the wrong position, and it's about 1 inch underneath his chin. And if you're coming in from that left side, you've got a wide open target, which if Khabib ever meets with Conor, you better believe, because if Conor can do anything, he can game plan. Conor can come out with game plans and strategies better than anybody. And if Khabib kept that left hand up 2 inches higher, I'd feel great about him. I feel good about him now. 23 men have tried to take him, and 23 have made a slip. He has a perfect record of 23-0, but he needs to keep that left hand up. Sooner or later, he's going to get popped, and he's going to go to sleep.
All right. Well, we were actually in Vegas. We were going back and forth on who I would pick between Woodley and Thompson. Well, when I was at the window, I chose Woodley. I got Woodley, Khabib, and Mark Hunt.
Okay, and what one are you feeling the least confident in? I mean, are you like me that Wonder Boy and Woodley could go either way? And we've got good reason for saying that. I mean, the guys just fought, and they went to a draw. So we've got a historical reference to look back on of just how close these guys are. I mean, is that the one where you really think, no, Wonder Boy's got him, or are you going, yeah, I really don't know, but this is who I bet on?
Yes, you're right, 100%. I don't know. It's the obvious answer is whoever learned more from the last fight. If I'm coaching Woodley, I'm like, go give him everything you got from the second the bell rings, and you're in a 2 to 3 round fight. T. Woodley even said, hey, I watched how this guy fight. I had a plan. I followed through with my plan entirely, and I would just say, man, you're a killer. Just go be a killer.
Yeah,
but that's why I don't coach.
Well, I tell you, that's one thing that Woodley won't do. Woodley's a slow starter at times. If he sees his range, he steps in and he unleashes, right? We saw him do that to win the championship, with Robbie Lawler. But if he doesn't see that opening that he's looking for, he's very patient. He'll stand back. He'll listen to people boo. He'll do whatever he needs to do. He's looking for very specific openings, and finding those particularly with a guy like Stephen Thompson, it's rare. There's not a lot of openings. That's a really weird style. I like how Tyron trained. I like that he brought in Sage Northcutt. I really think that he did a lot of things well, but it's a close fight. I just have to acknowledge that. And the one thing that Thompson did for this fight is he put on about 10 pounds of muscle. Where he thought he was getting out muscled or why he would need that, I'm not sure, but you got to work really hard to do that. So, look, we got a good fight on our hands. We got a really good fight on our hands.